It has been filmed on location inside the surviving areas of the Chernobyl nuclear power station. The control room at Chernobyl's reactor number 4. It's here that all the key decisions in the coming hour will be taken. The future of the reactor and the world beyond is in the hands of 3 men. At only 26, Leonid Toptonov is senior control engineer. His job is to control the enormous power in the reactor. Alexander Akimov is the shift foreman, the captain of the ship.
Ну что, все выспались? Поужинали нормально?
But tonight he is outranked. Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Dyatlov is in charge. Dyatlov is one of the Soviet Union's top nuclear engineers. He's also a hard man operating in a harsh system. There is a further vital character, the newly commissioned reactor number 4 itself, one of the communist regime's proudest technological achievements. Tonight, the control room is preparing for a safety test on the reactor.
Мощность упала почти до 500 мегаватт.
А что с Ларом?
Я отключаю локальный автоматический регулятор мощности реактора.
But a fateful argument is brewing between the 2 senior engineers and Dyatlov about the level of power at which it is safe to begin the test.
Орден включился, но все равно мощность падает.
Продолжайте.
Что происходит? Вы же не должны опускаться ниже нормы 700 мегаватт. Это же небезопасно. Что я ему скажу?
Я ему сам скажу. Не надо мне ничего говорить. Я все знаю сам. Думать не твоя работа. Здесь я принимаю решение. Делай, что тебе говорят.
On this night, Chernobyl is harboring 2 deadly secrets. The first is a potentially fatal flaw in the reactor's design, which the engineers are unaware of. A flaw that makes it highly unstable when run at low power. The second secret concerns the man in charge. Anatoly Dyatlov's own history is scarred by the very technology he is seeking to dominate. Tonight, Dyatlov and the reactor will face each other in a battle of strength that will destroy them both.
Du må jo bruke stikksaga!
Hva sa du?
Vet ikke.
Nytt søndagsmagasin i Dagbladet.
Strong stomachs needed tonight with back-to-back Mummy Mania. At 9, the mummies that made themselves. Later at 10, the secret of a black African mummy. It took 50 years to discover the truth. And at 11, mummies from around the world, both artificially and naturally created. It's the first episode of our Mummies trilogy. Wrap up well for Sunday night on Discovery.
How much does the average European spend on lottery tickets in a year?
On the battlefield, one determining factor of whether you live or die is simply how effective your weapons are. What's best in theory isn't necessarily what's best in practice. Greatest military clashes, Wednesday, 19th of May on Discovery Channel.
In motor racing, the price of victory depends on the risks you're willing to take. To experience the biggest kick is to push the boundaries of human endurance. The pursuit of absolute power is often driven by an insatiable appetite for destruction. For the ultimate in engineering, the ultimate in thrills, and the ultimate in obsession, we bring you the ultimate encounter. Coming soon to Discovery Channel.
The lottery. The biggest lottery in Europe started recently and involves players from France, Spain and Britain. The odds of winning the jackpot are 76 million to 1.
Minutes past midnight. The argument over the power level at which the safety test on Chernobyl's reactor number 4 can begin grows ever more serious.
Мы и так уже опустились ниже уровня безопасности в 700 мегаватт. Мощность падает очень быстро.
Единственное, что здесь нестабильно, так это работа твоих некомпетентных людей.
The test has been demanded by Russia's atomic energy authorities and stems from the Cold War fear of being attacked that still grips the Soviet Union. A few years before, the Israeli Air Force bombed an Iraqi nuclear reactor built by the Russians. Since then, Soviet scientists have demanded tests on their reactors to see what will happen if they come under enemy attack and their power supply is knocked out. But Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Dyatlov is deliberately ignoring top-level advice on how the test should be done. The guidelines state that the reactor's power should be between 700 and 1,000 megawatts when the test begins. Dyatlov wants to do the test at only 200 megawatts to preserve the cooling water that stops the reactor overheating. He believes there's little risk.
Unfortunately, that night there was not a single man in the control room that he saw as his equal. There really wasn't anyone there who was as strong a character or as professionally qualified whose opinion he would respect.
Реакторы не ошибаются, ошибаются люди. Давайте за работу.
Dyatlov is not in fact an unreasonable man. Rather, he is a creature of the communist system that has raised and promoted him. He was born a fisherman's son in Siberia and ran away from home at the age of 14. He's overcome these unpromising beginnings to rise through the ranks as an engineer. He is a party man who tries to follow the rule book, but he's aware that in the nuclear industry, the rule book and reality often don't match. To get things done, shortcuts and improvisation are sometimes the only answer. Winding the power down has led to it dropping too fast.
Что там у тебя?
Ну, мощность быстро падает.
Ты что натворил, идиот? Что ты наделал? Ты же мощность упустил! У тебя же руки из задницы растут! Да помоги ты ему!
Успокойся, успокойся, не суетись. Начинаем все сначала. Успокойся.
One mile away from Chernobyl is the dormitory town of Pripyat. Everyone who lives here works at the power station. Though they don't know it, all these people's destinies will be dictated by the events unfolding in control room number 4. Among them, soundly asleep, is Nikolai Fomin, the chief engineer of Chernobyl, who left the order for the safety test to be carried out. A few hundred yards away, Natasha Yevchenko is being kept awake by her 2-year-old son, Kirill. From her window, Natasha can see the lights of the nuclear power station where her husband, engineer Sasha Yevchenko, is working a routine night shift. As he passes through the kilometre-long turbine hall, Sasha's thinking not of work, but of the upcoming May Day holidays.
There was something about that night, something unusual. For some reason, I got all dressed up. The weather was remarkable, very warm for spring. I went off to work in a terrific mood. But my wife said that all night our son Kirill was crying. She didn't sleep a wink.
Риба дуже маленька сьогодні, знаєш. Що дуже маленька. Каже, може...
Others are also awake, among them 2 fishermen. One, a Chernobyl maintenance man, casting for fish attracted by the power plant's warm waste waters. "24 minutes to 1. A new problem disturbs the concentration of the increasingly fraught operators.
Уровень воды в барабан-сепараторах опасно низкий.
Давай соберись, это твоя работа.
Senior unit control engineer Boris Stolyarchuk controls the flow of water through the reactor. He's all too used to alarms like this.
As for the water levels in the separator drums, it was always difficult to control them at low power. All the operators knew about it, so I didn't feel afraid. Then.
22 minutes to 1. The reactor has ground to a complete halt. Dyatlov makes a fateful decision.
Ты же уронил реактор! Имбецил ты долбаный! Ну давай, поднимай мощность! Выводи регулирующие стержни! Бегом!
To raise power after 12:30, the shift actually had to pull all the control rods out of the reactor. All the control rods. This was like cocking a gun.
Control rods are the accelerator and the brakes of the nuclear reactor. Below the 50-foot reactor lid are 1,661 uranium-filled fuel rods, which descend into the reactor core. The splitting of the uranium atoms releases enormous heat from the fuel rods, which turns water into steam. The steam drives the giant turbines which generate electricity. To control this power, 211 boron control rods are spread throughout the reactor core. If they're raised, power accelerates. If they're taken out altogether, the engineers lose their ability to apply the brakes. Yet that is exactly what Dyatlov tells his men to do.
Извините, Анатолий Степанович, но разве мы не должны остановить реактор? И так положено в инструкции.
Это верно, Анатолий Степанович. Это абсолютно верно. Если мы извлечем регулирующие стержни, управлять реактором нам после этого становится почти невозможно.
Как же испытания не проводить из-за таких кретинов, как вы? Испытание будет проведено сегодня! А тебе я скажу. Если ты не хочешь или не можешь выполнять приказания, я могу избавить тебя от этой необходимости. Ты меня понял? Да. Пошел вон! Пригу! Прими управление!
Начал. Осторожнее.
The men's revolt has failed. Tregub and Akimov power up the reactor. Within 5 minutes, they've got power rising again. Dyatlov has what he wants.
Не удалось поднять мощность реактора до 160 мегаватт. Ладно, передай управление Топтунову.
The control room staff have